Welcome to another episode of Tales from the Tables with your host, Rob Bradley.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next episode of Tales from the Tables, episode 6, I believe this is.
Welcome to 6, yeah.
6,
Woo.
episode 6. All right,
Made it 6.
How you guys doing?
Good, yeah. I'm probably a bit echoey as I am out in the field recording this week. So
Live from the field.
Yeah, this is James, one of my co-hosts, and of course we've also got JC.
Hello,
hey, JC,
hello.
how you doing?
Hey, good. I'm all excited. I am going back to the UK this week.
Oh yeah.
Back to the motherland. I will be doing the Rolldark GM School of Mastery at Oxford University, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And then I'm also up in Edinburgh for a little while, so it should be exciting.
Oh yeah, of course. Great. So how long are you staying over for?
I don't know.
Nice.
I haven't booked a return flight yet because they are positively ridiculous. So looking for the best option. Plus, have some things going on here that I might have to do a quick emergency flight out to not New York. So we'll see. I'll maybe indefinitely. Who knows? Maybe I just won't come back to the States, guys.
Yeah.
By the time we're on episode 60, I'll come back with a Scottish brogue. I'll be talking like this because I'm stuck out there in Edinburgh, the whole team.
Oh, lovely. Well, it's a lovely place to get stuck. How are you, James? You go?
Yes, yeah, very well.
Good?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, so you say you're in the field. Whereabouts in the field are you? Are you
I'm
near the hedge? Or...
I'm at Jade's workplace as I'm helping her redecorate some of it. So that's why it's all empty, because it's all being moved around, repainted, organised. So yeah, I'm taking a bit of time out, which is great because I've done very little because I've been doing other work this morning as well. So I've probably not been as helpful as I could have been today.
Been a bit swamped, yeah.
Yes, it's that time of year. But you know, it's
a financial end, isn't it? Is that right?
Yes, that is unfortunately correct. But I won't bore everyone with that.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've been sent a load of invoices from various different things, being like, "Oh, can you pay for this? Can you pay for that now?" And I'm like, "Whoa, one second. Oh,
that reminds me. Speaking of invoice, no, I'm kidding.
Oh yeah. You haven't actually sent me your invoice this week, JC. Yeah, I keep getting this like massive load of money from JC. He's like, "Oh, can you pay me, Rob?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, of course." Keeps forgetting.
Because it's been like 3 weeks. Right.
It's been like 3 weeks, exactly. Cool. So James, what's been going on in the news and stuff? Much going on in the world of RPGs?
Yes, so we do have some news this week from the new Planescape book that's been announced.
So excited.
It looks pretty cool, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
It looks pretty cool. I think there's a lot of DMs, certainly Rolldark DMs, have done stuff in Planescape before. Is it? It was an original book before, wasn't it? Is that right?
It was. I think that 3.5 is when it first came out. Maybe 2e. I might be wrong about that. But I've been actually like delving deep into the old lore from the old books lately.
Okay.
This whole week in preparation and anticipation. So.
And I'm sure there was a video game at Planescape.
Yeah, Torment. Yeah. Planescape Torment. That was 99. Around the same time as Baldur's Gate.
Oh, cool. So what is Planescape for anyone out there who's listening that has no idea what you guys are or what we're talking about?
Well, it's sort of dimension hopping adventures, isn't it? So going from like all the different planes to like the hells and the astral plane and things like that. Obviously the Spelljammer one, they've sort of explored the astral plane a bit. So
yeah,
I think this one it'll probably have more width than depth to all the different things, but as a DM who likes the homebrew, that's sort of ideal. Just like give me enough to spark my imagination, and then you sort of fly from there.
Right. I feel like it's also all very rooted in the city of Sigil, which is spelled sigil, so I called it Sigil forever, but I've had people beat it out of me. So Sigil is apparently a city in the Outlands. Well, that's what I'm hearing. Who knows? You're your own DMs. You can do whatever you want at your table. Friendly reminder.
Right in, listeners.
Yeah, it's this donut-shaped city at the very top of a massive spire, basically in the proverbial center of all the different realms, all the different planes of existence.
Wow.
and it's the domain of the Lady of Pain, who is a very enigmatic, mysterious figure who doesn't really get involved in the day-to-day life and politics of the city. But it's also called the City of Doors because you can meet literally anyone there, and they often say, like, oh, you'll see a devil and an angel sipping tea together in front of the local shop, and you might run into a Modron having a heated argument with a something else, a Pegasus or something like that. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's supposed to be like a conflux of all the different inhabitants of the plains.
Oh, okay, interesting. What do you think it is about the moment? Because there seems to be very much like a very popular thing within pop culture, the whole multiverse idea at the moment. You've got it with DC, obviously copying Marvel, I guess. D&D have kind of attached themselves to it now as well, I
Yep,
suppose.
the
But
multiverse theory.
The Spideyverse as well.
Yep.
That's there. It's like,
Yep.
what do you think? Why do you think this is like? Suddenly, just everyone's just obsessed with the multiverse.
I have no idea. I have a feeling like the this is my philosophical take on it. The human consciousness slowly expands and grows, right, as a collective, kind of like the zeitgeist. And we're entering a period where we realize we're trying to become more of a global community, I feel like, and become more aware of each other and more attached. And as a result, our media and our fiction is starting to explore that, but on the mega scale that it's always explored right? So back in whatever 1911 or whenever Superman was written, it was about humans and people trying to be their ultimate, and so the comic book equivalent of that was Superman. And now that we're trying, that we're faced with infinite possibilities and people identifying themselves early on and having so many spectrums to choose from, as before where we had rigid boxes to identify with gender and race, now we're trying to expand beyond those boundaries. And as a result, I think our fiction and our media is pushing into the multiverse and exploring every infinite possibility. God knows I've done it in my D&D games, especially in my Wayfinders team game. So yeah, I don't know. It is a trend, though. You're right. It's certainly around.
I think there's also the element that you can take something that people recognize and put a twist on it, and then you don't have to work from the ground up with recognition of a new thing. You can take something that people already do and do something new with it, and they're sort of already on board a little bit before they sort of get into this, whatever the new thing is. So, like I said, like comic book movies and stuff, they'll do a different take on the same character, and it's the ability to do that.
Yeah, look at the Flash, right, with the alternate version that just came out, and or he's meeting his alternate self, and in the universe where Michael Keaton is still Batman.
So sick.
Yeah,
I've not seen it yet.
I haven't seen it either, but from the trailers alone, where he's like coming back in, swooping down the tunnel, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm Batman."
So badass. Cool. Yeah, so cool, so cool. Apparently, Christopher Reeve makes a cameo as well. They've got like him at the end, apparently with Supergirl. Yeah.
Oh my god!
Spoiler alert! Alert!
Yeah.
Apparently he's there with her, and also Nicolas Cage. Superman. God. The Superman never happened.
No.
Yeah.
The long black hair.
Yeah.
Oh.
I would have. Do you know what? I'm a massive Superman fan, right? Let me just grab you something. 1 second.
Yeah. Suspense. This is exciting.
So this is the first book I ever read. Right, The Death and Life of Superman. It's the novel adaptation of the comic book that came out in 1993, I think it was, and I'm massively dyslexic and I struggle to read massively. This took me 3 years to read. And at the time I hated books. I hated everything to do with books. I hated reading, couldn't stand it. But I absolutely loved Superman. And I remember seeing this at a time where there was no Superman movies. No, Superman wasn't on TV yet. Like the Dean Cain Superman hadn't started yet. And I was like just constantly watching the VHS recording of Superman 2 that we had on our like crappy VHS recorder over and over and over, like just constantly watching it, be like, oh wow. And then I remember the first time I watched Superman 1 and was like, oh my god, there's like another Superman film. I had like no idea. So then when I saw this book, I was like, right, I was like, he's dead. So I was like, right, that's it. I'm gonna figure out how to read. And this taught me how to read. The will of wanting to find out what happens to Superman
That's amazing. And for those of you who aren't actually seeing it, the book looks like it's been read a lot. It's very worn. And
it has.
The pages are all yellow.
Yeah, I've had it since I was 14 years old.
Wow,
this literally is
so
like
cool.
my pride and joy. Yeah,
I don't know what's happened to a lot of my old books I've had from when I was that age.
Yeah, it's crazy. Isn't it?
All in boxes in my parents' attic.
They kind of lose themselves along the way, along the journey, don't they? They kind of like go to somebody else, someone else starts reading them or whatever.
Well, that's the epic life of books. It's so cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So going back to Nicolas Cage. So yeah, I was like so psyched about that film coming out, and then so like gutted when it never did, because I was so looking forward to it.
When was that supposed to happen?
1996 or 7, I think it was.
Was it the Kevin Smith?
Yeah, Kevin Smith wrote it. He wrote the treatment for the script he wrote. And have you seen the video of him on YouTube? When he was talking about the giant spider, and you got John Peters, the producer, sat on the sofa, and he's just doing that with his hands. He's got his hands up above his head, like side by side. And he's going like, and Tim Smith's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, this is the screen. I'm in the movie theater, and I'm watching it to the screen."
Oh, he was meant to be like a theater member, right?
And he was obsessed with spiders. So he wanted Superman to fight a giant spider at the end of the film.
Well, he finally got his wish.
He did, yeah. He finally got his wish, because it ended up in was it in Flash? Was it?
Is it the Flash? Yeah, they put the giant. They put the clip of Nick Cage Superman as him fighting this enormous spider.
Oh really? Oh man.
God. Nick Cage though. Oh.
I don't know if he actually did it or if they just CGI'd him in.
Well,
it looks very Uncanny Valley.
I don't get Nick Cage as Superman, but I do get him as Clark Kent. I think he could have been a really good Clark Kent.
Okay.
Because he's a dweeby, nerdy dude. He could be because he's a very physical actor.
Right.
I'm just like, hi Lois, how you doing? Do you know what I mean? He could be.
That's actually really good.
He could totally be like that.
Yeah.
And then to see him then become Superman would have been amazing. It would have been amazing.
Okay. All right, you're selling me on it. I'm almost there. Yeah.
No, Nick Cage is very.
I'll never see it.
Passionate about it, isn't he? Because he's named his son
Kal-El. Yeah. He hates talking about it in interviews. When he gets asked about it, he's like, "Yeah, well, it never happened, and just because he really wanted to
do it. Next question.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he really wanted to do it. So yeah, Planescape. So yes. What else? What other details have we got on it?
Okay, so what we're looking at is 3 books again, much like the last like large adventure thing that came out, the Spelljammer one.
3 books. So why 3 books? What are the books?
So I think there's the source book. So there's a campaign book, which is called Turn of Fortune's Wheel. 96-page adventure, designed to sort of be an introduction to Planescape. And there's some sort of glitch in the reality of the multiverse that the players are trying to investigate. That sounds pretty cool.
That's cool.
And then you've got the Mort's Planar Parade. So that's a 64-page book, which is a new monster manual for all the different planes.
Sick.
So
nice.
Quite a lot. So yeah, all the city of. I'm going to say Sigil, JC, to be different.
Listen, you do you. I was doing that for years, so
yeah, exactly. I can't change now. I'm set in my ways.
It feels wrong, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, Sigil. No, it's not right. And the nearby regions, and then there is a source book that offers detailed campaign information that sort of serves as an introduction to the Planescape setting for new players, and that's another 96-page book. So background on lore, history, NPCs, locations, and the planes. I'm sort of looking for City of Brass stuff. That's what I want. A lot more.
City of Brass.
Yeah, I like the whole genie stuff and Genasi. I'm a big fan of. So
nice. All right,
give me more of that.
Very acrobatic.
But yeah, that's there's not other than the 3 book set. I think they've released the artwork for like the more expensive version of the 3 book set, and it's all very lovely. It looks really, really nice. I think the Lady of Pain's on like the front of the monster manual book.
Yeah, she looks really badass. Really
cool. It does look pretty cool. So yeah, so it looks like the inner planes are covered. So that's the elemental. So that's water, earth, air, and lightning.
Great.
So that doesn't say fire, but that's fine. I'll just assume that that's one of the elemental planes. They've just not listed it. Ethereal Plane.
Definitely is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Ethereal Plane. So misty, fog-filled dimension, sometimes described as a great ocean, which is that's pretty cool. I think that, yeah. So that's what you have some interaction with that with some of the spells from the base game already.
Yeah.
So a bit more stuff about the different prime material planes. So using the Great Wheel cosmology. So they'll have some Dragonlance and Forgotten Realms, maybe crossover type stuff. Where those two, like, maybe, I don't want to say it because Greyhawk is maybe a thing that they'll have included, but who knows?
Yeah.
Astral Plane again, so we'll get some more Astral Plane stuff, which is cool because anything to sort of pad out a bit of the Spelljammer campaign would be pretty cool. I like the Astral Plane.
I never get tired of Astral stuff. More Astral, please.
No, exactly. Plus, as soon as you've got bags of holding or more than one of them, there's a very good chance your players are going there. So just all the information for when that inevitably happens. Yeah. And then the outer plane is representing alignments and the primary domains of various deities. So huge number of options by the sounds of it.
Great.
Yeah. So
I had heard in the adventure, this is something really cool, and you can confirm this, James. Isn't it like a set level between? I think it's like you go from levels 3 to 10, and then suddenly you jump to like level 17 or something like that.
Yeah, and then it does 17 to 20 apparently.
How cool is that?
That's awesome.
I bet players are like loving it, and I bet DMs are ripping their hair out.
If as long as it comes with the stuff to run it, I don't see it being a problem. It's a set adventure as well. Like the problem that a lot of DMs have with running characters to level 20 is that they're like, we'll run out of stuff to throw at them. They're all too powerful. Nothing works anymore. Which you just need to be more inventive. It's just fine.
I've never had a problem having high level encounters.
No, I've had
I feel like the trick is to make sure that your players feel comfortable with their sheets, right? So slow progression to level 20 obviously is very hard to do considering consistency of groups and whatnot, but at least you know that the players have built on their knowledge of the character. Whereas when people are like, oh, let's play a level 21 shot and make a level 20 character, it's very rare that I've seen that people intimately know everything that they can do. I like the most common thing I hear is like, oh damn, I forgot I had damage resistance to this, or I forgot I had that particular feature that lets me teleport as a bonus action or whatever.
Yeah. A lot of it is just keeping track of what they can do and not forgetting it at the time, and also just making. It's hard not to get used to pulling punches if you're throwing overpowered monsters at them, which I tend to do with my players because it's more fun that way. And then you get to the point where you're actually legit. You could legitimately throw these creatures at them. You're like, oh well, I've actually already used these and they've killed them, so I need to take it up yet another notch.
Just make everything an illithid. All right, that's the trick.
That's it. That's it.
Well, actually, speaking of high level monsters, so I'm also seeing that the Mort's Planar Parade book, one of the three, the sort of monster manual for this Planescape setting, includes time dragons, and it's so bizarre because I've literally just delved into the lore, as in 2 days ago, because I was planning this for an upcoming session this week, as to the history of time dragons in D&D, and I had this sort of campaign ending idea for one, and I can't tell you how disappointed I was in their visual design. They look rather silly. I'm sure it's a product of their time. I hope they get a little bit of a makeover, but basically they look like large spindly raccoons because they've got an infinity symbol. So they're mostly grayish white. They're rather thin.
Okay.
And they have this hourglass shaped mask of black that grows around their eyes with age.
Just like a raccoon. Right, yeah.
Just like a raccoon. And then they also have like the bands, the same sort of black bands across the body till you reach the tail. And the tail has these two little needle-like protrusions that look like the hands on a clock, like an hour hand or a minute hand and a second hand on a clock. And I'm like, I get it. I get the impulse, but it also looks really cheesy.
When you said it, I expected it to be like a fully clockwork dragon, but no.
Right. They kind of went like a weird combo.
That, but yeah,
if they had if they leaned into it, sure, right. But they kind of met this middle road thing that looks
That's a shame. I bet someone will do some amazing fan art of what they think a time dragons look like, and then we can just all collectively decided that that's better. Use that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good thing about the indie community.
Nothing
is
against
that
the original artist. It's clearly the whatever the prompt that they received, right? It was like, here, design this. And they're like, oh, all right.
Oh, it's certainly better than anything I could ever create, but art-wise, that is not my forte.
So in Planescape, can you Planescape to your own homebrew worlds?
Yes, yeah. It's like an ideal way, I think, maybe to get from a homebrew world if you want to run like a module out of something. Oh, we'll run a Planescape adventure. We can run a Planescape adventure. And there'll be a portal that will take us to Sigil. Standing fast on that. Yeah, and then you just sort of run it from there. Although I suppose your DM will have to be okay with whatever homebrew characters getting to level 17 to 20. So if you're also running homebrew classes, then definitely check with your DM that that's okay.
Yeah. Well, like the tagline says, the possibilities, just like the realms, are endless. So,
great. Yeah. Do you guys prefer homebrew over running games in the Forgotten Realms?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
James, strong.
I do really love the Forgotten Realms. Don't get me wrong. But I just really like the freedom to sort of create everything from scratch myself. So I've got I've made a homebrew world, and I've created like royal lines and like cities across multiple continents, and you sort of grow attached to it a bit.
Yeah, world building is a lot of fun. From my thing, I actually don't think I've run a game in my homebrew world yet. It's certainly been built out, and I always add more. But I've been running mostly Forgotten Realms. I've done Ravenloft. I've done a little Eberron. I've dabbed my toes into Eberron. Never done Greyhawk. I've done, I guess that's it. So it's mostly been Forgotten Realms, Ravenloft, a little bit of Eberron, and something else in there that I'm currently forgetting. I did some Theros for a little bit, which was fun. I'm excited. I can't wait to break out my homebrew world. I'm a little intimidated myself about it because I've been weaning myself on Forgotten Realms lore for so long at this point that I'm very familiar with it, and yet there is so much out there that I feel like no one person can consume unless your name is Jacob. DM Jacob. I feel like nobody can like really wrap their head around the entirety of the lore that exists for Forgotten Realms because it's been around for 40 years and it's got so many contributing people, and Ed Greenwood comes up with new ridiculous crap all the time, and
that's one of the reasons I like the homebrews, because you don't have to your players aren't going to second guess the lore either, because you do have players who just know like D&D stuff. And Dragonlance stuff going back to like the original books, and they know all the backstory, all the characters, all the spin-offs, like all 200 bits of like lore and like weird obscure stuff that if you contradict, they'll be like, well, actually,
technically, right? Well, shout out to Oak, because that's exactly what Oak is like in my Wayfinders game. She constantly is like, anytime I introduce something new or I drop a name, I get a whisper from her being like, I know who that is, and I'm like, hush your face, don't you say anything to the others.
play it cool. Yeah.
Brilliant. So with making homebrew worlds, then would you say it's better to kind of like sort of make it one step at a time and have your players in sessions where you're kind of building the world together, or would you prefer to just sort of like go away, build the world out yourself, and then like which is kind of what I get the impression you've done, JC, and then invite the players in? Like, what do you think is the better way to do it, and or why have you decided to do it the way you have, JC?
Well, I mean, we could do a whole series of podcasts on this. The home, and honestly, that would be a lot of fun, I think. But the way, so actually, even though I've kind of gone away and haven't built it or haven't introduced it to the players, I have actually incorporated a lot of ideas from lots of different adventures and players having done things. In a way, my particular homebrew world is actually not unlike Sigil, and the idea that it's a converse of different events and characters from different parts of the multiverse. So there's a lot of little homages to adventurers that I've had, players that I've had, and feats that have been accomplished, and important NPCs and stuff like that. So, for instance, that whole Alma story I told in one of our earlier podcasts, being the Raven Queen. She is the Raven Queen of my homebrew world and things like that. But that being said, I come from a long tradition of writing. So my major in college was English literature, and before that, I used to write creatively a ton. So for me, I'll start with some idea and find myself 4.5 hours later with sitting on 13 pages of notes, and like, oh shoot, I should probably prep for my game and not just continue on this homebrew building stuff. So that's more of my process. But yeah, it's two different schools of thought. I don't know, James, how do you do it?
I start sort of on my own. Just have like a general idea of what I want to have happened, what the current state of the world is, and I like creating cities and towns and like the ruling families of those and what the city's like and stuff like that. That stuff I don't tend to take from players, but once they're in the world, my homebrew has been totally changed by stuff that they've done. And I've also, while playing with them, had ideas for, okay, there could be an area of the world where this is a thing that is more common or that happens. And you do take inspiration from your players. I mean, it's huge, and they're so great at coming up with new things that you couldn't possibly think of, just inspiring ideas, even by like with one-off sentences, and you're like, oh, I can run with that whole idea, and I've now written pages and pages and pages based off this one thing. I think the thing I had is that I had a player who just wanted to be an assassin, and they only wanted to target very high profile and intelligent people, and I was like, okay. He didn't have a reason why that. He was just like, that's just the targets that I go for. And I was like, okay, I can run with that. So what I did is I had him working for an organization that essentially was just culling the best and brightest minds and people who knew valuable information, and then interring them in this huge tomb. And then they would keep their bodies there. And when they needed the information, they would go in and use Speak with Dead to like gain that information. So it was like a huge library of people that
that's a cool
were then
idea.
like,
yeah, that's great.
It's one of my yeah, exactly. and then they forgot to ask them the last question, like in the D&D movie, and then they were just laid there, sat there waiting.
Hello, can someone ask me another question, please? Yeah, that's really cool. A library of the greatest minds ever to exist.
And what advice would you both give then to someone who's starting out as a GM that's never homebrewed before, but wants to kind of start getting their sort of, they're dipping their toes into creating their own world?
Start small, and if you have an idea for an adventure that you want to run, start with that. So if you want to run a heist, or if you want to run your classic Lord of the Rings adventure, like what do you need to make that adventure work? Okay, you need a starting point, you need a hometown, or if you need a heist, okay, you need a thing that is worth stealing in this world, people who want to stop you from doing that, and a location where that is being kept and that you need to get to. So then you start with those ideas, make it relevant to whatever adventure you're trying to run, rather than starting doing a load of world building on something that's not necessarily going to be relevant for a long time. I'm guilty of doing it. I've got cities that my players have never been to that I've got ridiculous notes for, because you get carried away. But if you're starting, I think the best advice I can give is know what you're doing. So if you're wanting to run an adventure in the desert, okay, that there is a desert. Why is there a desert? What is the surrounding? How do people survive? They need water. How are people getting water in the desert? And you world build from there. Just ask yourself questions about your world. And I've seen actually on Reddit people do it where they like, this is my homebrew world, here's a map. Ask me questions about it. And if I don't have an answer already, I will then think of one and it'll help like trigger something.
Build out the world. Yeah.
Yeah, and you build it out that way. So you maybe work with a friend, or just, I think maybe this is one of the few things that AI might be good for. If you just ask the AI, which we don't like, and we don't like people using it. But if you can then get it to do like, can you give me 10 questions that someone might ask me about my homebrew D&D world? And it can then, because if it's just like creating questions for you to then answer, then it's still all your thoughts and ideas that it's pulling out. It's just an aid to do that.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Yeah, I used to say, write outward, not inward. So starts basically the same principle. Start small, right? Come up with the core concept, and remember that no matter how much labor of love your homebrew world is, in our game, it's about the players. They have to be attached to it, right? They need to be the focus. So you can have the coolest designed NPCs with the most intriguing backstories and storylines. You have to let it go to make sure that the players are center stage. You can incorporate it. You can even add your players to that royal lineage, whatever, right? But always keep that in mind. The other thing I would also say is, along the same train of thought as you, James, I really like the ideas of ancient cultures. Almost all worlds, either fictional or our real world, is based off of a sort of concept of repeating history, and the idea that there was a civilization before that may not necessarily have been more advanced, but were advanced in their own way. And I love ancient cultures. I love tomb delving. I love that kind of thing. So I always start with that. I'm like, what civilization or ethnic group or strange magical origin, what preceded the current civilization, and how has that informed the current inhabitants, right? Like, maybe in the vein of the Forgotten Realms and Netherese, or even Athos, if you run Dark Sun campaigns, which I know a fair bit about, has there been a ban on magic because of how it ravaged the world, for instance, right? That's the whole premise of the Dark Sun campaign. Or, is your city much more technologically advanced because they developed and discovered, or perhaps were even built upon the ruins of an older civilization that they eventually discovered, were more advanced and started integrating that technology into theirs, that kind of thing. Arcane does this really well. The series on Netflix, which is based on the League of Legends IP.
Oh, really? I've not seen it yet.
I won't spoil it for you. Honestly, I'm going to say, at least in my humble opinion, I think that show is one of the best things that has come out like in the past year. I can't wait for season 2. Yeah, I know nothing about League of Legends. I've never played it. So yeah. Oh yeah, the animation style, the acting, the production value, the direction, the music, the story, the character focus, all of it. It's really, really incredible. So,
okay, great. I will definitely check that out. Nice. Have you seen it, James?
I have not. No, it's on my list of things to see, but I've only heard amazing things. Yeah, I know, and I have seen season 3 of The Witcher, so I'm going to be shunned by the community for that choice.
I did start watching The Witcher, but I'm struggling to maintain focus when I'm watching it. It's just the first couple of episodes, they're just not hooking me in as much. It's a shame, and I really want them to, because I know there's a great story in there.
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Somewhere buried real deep.
Well, pick up the books, do the right thing, right?
Yeah, I think I will. I think I will read the books. Yeah,
the audio books are very good. I've got them on Audible. Yeah.
Do you know who narrates them? Just out of curiosity.
Ooh, I don't, but I will find out for you.
We'll exchange.
Do you guys have favorite narrators for books?
Oh, I do really like the new Discworld books that are narrated by Indira Varma, who was she was in Game of Thrones as one of the leader of the Sand Snakes, the one who was married to Oberyn.
Oh yeah.
She reads the some of the new the old Terry Pratchett ones. They're re-recording them.
That's cool.
She does a very good job.
Which is lovely too. Yeah.
Is it full cast or is it just her?
There is Peter Serafinowicz is Death. I want to say no.
Oh, yeah.
No, yes, he is, and Bill Nighy does the footnotes.
Oh, great!
God,
cool.
I gotta love a Bill Nye.
So just the new recordings are very good. Like a lot of people are attached to the old voice actors, and they are very good. The recordings are dated, but I do really like the voices they did with the original recordings. But yeah, and I have now completely slipped my mind who the two guys are that did it, because it did change back then as well. But they're great.
Cool.
Yes,
Awesome.
I really want to check out. I'm not sure if it's just the new recording of The Hobbit or if he's doing all of Lord of the Rings. But I heard that Andy Serkis was re-recording, or I'd seen like promo videos of Andy Serkis re-recording some stuff.
Yes, he has. Yeah, he has done.
He sounds. I mean, his voice has always been wonderful, so I can't wait. Especially now that it's a little bit settled and deeper and gravelier. So,
yep.
I can't wait for that. And that aside, I was going to say I will always be a Stephen Fry narration fan. I could listen to that man read me my shopping list, and I would be enamored.
Yeah, I do have to agree there. Yeah, he's his Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is excellent.
It's just perfect. It's like voice that was made.
That's brilliant. I've got that on my Audible actually, of him doing that.
Yeah, same. And it's so good.
His Sherlock Holmes is fantastic. Have you heard the Sherlock?
Yes, I've got the omnibus of all the Sherlock, and it's it's good. Like every Sherlock Holmes.
I gotta check that out.
He does all of them.
So literally. I didn't want to say anything earlier, but I had a very opposite relationship with books when I was younger. They were kind of my only friend. I didn't have friends in school. I was very, very much a book nerd. I didn't have video games. I didn't discover them until I was in my teens. So I was obsessed with Sherlock Holmes. He was, I think I read all of them at like the age of 7.
Wow.
And I did, like when I found out that my school library didn't have all the books, I was so upset. And then my dad was like, no, it's okay. It's okay. We can go to the library. I was like, yes. And that was my very, very first trip to London when I was 8. My very first trip abroad was to London because I wanted to go to the Sherlock Holmes Museum and, obviously experience the culture and everything. So I was obsessed. I had no idea that Stephen Fry read that. It's a marriage made in heaven. I've got to check that out.
It is. They're really good. They're really, really good.
And there's like forewords and stuff as well read by him, because I think Stephen Fry is a huge Sherlock Holmes nerd as well. He's part of like the Sherlock Society or whatever. And the Ghost
That's amazing. Is that probably why he was cast as the brother in the films?
Yeah. I imagine so. Yeah, I think
more than likely.
Yeah, but I mean, he's just that quintessentially British sort of actor, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
He's a very funny
in
man.
The best way possible.
Yeah. Cool. So, okay. So, what we got in terms of updates from Tales from the Tables? JC?
We have a lot this week, and I also have a big one. I'll save it for the end. Not necessarily that it's better, but I'll go through them, and if we have time, I'll go into mine. If not, we'll save it for next week. But starting from Richard Mortimer, who ran another stag party private booking last week. In his own words, I had prepared an encounter with a dying ancient red dragon and an emotional speech with the wisdom of ages as the creature drew its last breaths. I hadn't expected the adventurers to turn up on the back of a flying elephant, however. Parentheses, apparently a wild-shaped druid with the fly spell cast upon him. The dragon's last words became, "A flying elephant. Well, bugger me." The elephant is a rare choice for a wild-shaped form. Objectively, it isn't as good as the other options, but it is a lot of fun. That is true. Thank you, Richard, for your submission. I don't know so much about that. I've seen more than a handful of people turn into elephant or mammoth and then fall from a distance. They do the classic polymorph and let gravity do Damage.
I usually get whale for that, yeah.
Ooh, whale. Well, right.
Whale, yeah, right. That's from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
As I say, it's very Hitchhiker's Guide, yeah.
Yeah, classic. All right, now we have one from Harry Jephart, who runs a team game on Friday nights, and this is more of an overview of what they've been up to so far, or recently. So, his team game, in his own words, my team game has been the definition of splitting the party. In the first arc, they began in a city where they all joined different gangs and began fighting each other for loot. And when it came time to fight the villains, they'd all either run or side against each other. The second arc, it was all about recruiting an army, during which 2 of the players sided with the villains for 12 sessions. After the war was over and they'd fought each other on numerous unplanned occasions, they said, "We've got it out of our system and we're all together now." Little did they know that the third arc villain focused on mind control, and so had been getting into the minds of the characters, splitting them up and having them fight each other so that he can get away. I thought this would annoy them because they'd been against each other as characters for so long, but they've done nothing but laugh at the irony. One of the players even said, "If I'd known this arc was coming, I wouldn't have started as many fights with you all back at the beginning."
Very good.
Why does this read to me like a Pokemon game? Like you're just pitting people against each other constantly for cruelty. I love it though. Very, very cool. Very unique. All right. Now we've got Jordan Carmichael, who's been running games with the National Trust Charity through partnership between Rolldark, Leicester University, and the YMCA. He had his final session with them at Chalk Abbey at the weekend, and here is what went down. In his own words, in true D&D style, we had a big final battle with the villain of the story. Having tracked down a missing noble and daughter within the Feywilds, the party stumbled upon a garden full of rotting plants and vegetables, being tended by a spindly ancient old woman. The woman is more than unhelpful, but one of the party notices that the large black tree at the center of the garden has these large sap-like protrusions, and one seems to have a shadow in its middle in the shape of a person. Fearing the worst, the party rushes the old woman's house only to be bowled over by the noble's daughter, who is clearly under the old woman's control. The old woman now reveals herself to be none other than Black Annis, a powerful hag of great renown. Bound by Fey laws, Black Annis can't attack the party directly unless they attack her first. So a fight breaks out with Black Annis bending the rules in her favor by having Ermine, the daughter who made a deal with Black Annis, as her proxy to try and fight off the adventurers. Several rounds of tense combat later, the party managed to knock Ermine unconscious with a well-timed sleep spell, but much to their despair, they realize Black Annis can continue to control her like a puppet. Ooh. There is a tense, above-table discussion on how to stop Ermine without killing her, when, with a thunderous crack, a dagger appears in their midst, a gift from some Fey allies they recently made. Dagger ex machina. Striking Ermine with the dagger, they find that it has broken Black Annis's control, causing her to fall fully to the ground and forcing Black Annis to flee, for now, at least. The party rescue Ermine and her father, and upon inspecting the dagger, they find an inscription in Sylvan, Oathbreaker.
Okay.
Ooh.
Wow, there you go.
That is cool. That is cool. I love Feywild themed hag encounters. I've run many of them, and I love them all. They never get old. Constantly at work in creativity to see how the players overcome these bizarre rules and games that they're in. So yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay. And finally, this is a bit left field as it's an update from a player rather than one of our DMs, Paul Christie, and a game he runs at home for his family. So, in our home game on Sunday, in his own words, of course. So, in our home game on Sunday, my youngest, Niam, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, 12 years old, decided she wanted a pet chicken for her rogue. So she bought a chicken, made a harness, and it came along to the caves they were investigating. When I told her that all stealth checks will be a disadvantage, as she has a chicken harnessed and walking beside her, she decided to put it in the bag of holding and take it out every 5 minutes so that it could breathe. So then came the first time she took it out of the bag, this rabid, freaked out chicken who, number one, doesn't like being put in a bag, and number two, being put in an extra-dimensional pocket plane with no light or oxygen meant that when she took it out, understandably freaked out, 10 real minutes of laughing and chasing an imaginary chicken to try and calm it down has now resulted in it being named Gertrude. And I have created a magical chicken harness that makes Gertrude, and only Gertrude, immune to all damage, because I don't think I could ever let the damn chicken die now. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yep.
Brilliant.
You learn very quickly as a DM the consequences of giving players pets. Like if you do anything to harm them, you are then officially on their shit list for a good long time. So
such the nice, yeah. People get very attached to imaginary pets, which is good. It's what you want.
Yeah, very good. Cool. Well, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for, I think.
Cool.
Yeah, because James, you're having to shoot off, aren't you, my friend?
Yes, that is indeed true. From the field, I'm being told I must vacate. So
vacate the field. The farmer's like, "Hey, get off my land!
Yeah. Get off, you whippersnappers!"
Oh, you cool. you do know the people here, yeah.
Okay, no worries,
Brilliant.
man. So those of you who are listening who have never had any kind of interaction with Rolldark before, have no idea who we are, we're a gaming community, a role-playing gaming community made up of around 300 players and 30 dungeon masters, all professional dungeon masters, and they host around 20 or so games a week that our players enjoy. You can find out more information about who we are on www.rolldark.co.uk, or you can drop over to our Discord, which we have an invitation link at the bottom of this episode description. Thanks both of you for joining us again for episode 6.
Six. Thank you.
Fantastic. And we'll see each other in person on Friday.
Oh yes, of course. Yes, this Friday, the GM Academy.
Yeah.
Starting at 9:15. The doors open. If anyone's listening, it's at the Examination Schools in Oxford University in Oxford. Funnily enough, well, you don't. If you've bought a ticket, don't worry. Not going to be sent a ticket. We're going to be marking off names on the door. All right. So if you're going to that, we look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, and if you haven't, it stars all of us. I'm teaching a Volition of Voice class and an improv class, possibly running a game. James, what are you teaching?
I'm doing map making and the reasons we should be using maps in tabletop RPGs, because there's a number of reasons, and I'm excited to tell people about them.
Cool. You could be running a game as well?
Yes, and I'll be running a game in the afternoon as well.
Yep. So come check us out.
Yeah, nice one. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.